Hey guys, so it looks like there's another new radar detector coming out from Escort, and it's going to be called the Escort Passport S55. Now, this detector is not yet available, and it also hasn't even been officially announced, but we do have some information as far as what is to come, so I want to go ahead and share with you what we do know as far as the product, different features it has, performance, all that kind of good stuff. So basically what we're looking at here is yet another M4 based detector. This is going to be one of the less expensive, more entry level detectors. So it doesn't have a ton of features. There's no Bluetooth, there's no GPS, it doesn't have a ton of bells and whistles. You just got your basic detection of, X-band, K-band, Ka, laser, all that kind of stuff. It does have support with Escort Live, but the interesting thing about this one is that it actually has DSP. Just like the Max and the Max 2, this is actually a detector with DSP, so it's kind of interesting to see that technology actually trickling down to some of the more entry-level detectors. And so in this video, we're going to be talking about kind of the relevance of that and kind of what difference that would make in this detector compared to maybe some of the other detectors that don't have the same type of DSP. So with that said, let's just jump right in and see what this detector has to offer. So like I said, this detector is not yet actually officially available. It's actually just finished undergoing the FCC certification. In order to be sold here in the States, it does have to, get approved by the FCC so that it can be sold. Now that that is done, there's some information online that we can take a look at, which is where all this information is coming from. We'll find, pictures of the detector itself, the external photos. We've got internal photos of the guts of the detector, and also we have a copy of the quick reference guide in PDF. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So here's the detector itself, the Passport S55. And if we go over here, we can see the buttons on the detector. It's pretty simple and standard. We've got a power button, volume, mute button, brightness adjustment for your screen, sensitivity, auto, highway mode, that kind of stuff. You've got your standard release button there. You've got your older LED style display here. It's the style kind of like on the red line. It's not the newer one like on the Passport or the Max. So again, very standard, nothing too fancy here, pretty much like every other Escort radar detector that's currently available. We can take a look at the different settings, which always tells us quite a bit, and you'll see nothing too out of the ordinary here. We'll see no band segmentation or RDR, which, given that it's a DSP detector, it makes sense. It doesn't need that. But you'll see we've got Ka band we can turn off. There's no individual segmentation options. And pretty simple. There's not really a whole lot here. Just beep when you get the different signals, basic filtering like TSR, auto mode, highway. That's about it. So nothing too fancy. It is compatible with Escort Live. If you would like to use it with Escort Live, of course, you're going to have to purchase the optional Escort Live cable. There's two versions. They're both $100. You've got the cigarette lighter version like this, and then you also have the hardwire version. And like I said, both of them $100 if you want that feature. But the most interesting thing about this one is right here, our patented DSP, digital signal processing. This is it. So they're saying it's one of the most advanced high-performance radar and laser detectors on the market, provides a long-range warning on all radar bands and laser bands. Cool, everybody says that these days. But here's the interesting part. Our patented digital signal processing provides extreme radar range with minimal false alarms. Interesting. You got mute and auto mute functionality. Cool, super simple. To keep it quiet even in the most populated areas. Again, just generic stuff. But the interesting thing here is DSP. And I do want to actually address that. So the interesting thing about the Max is it's kind of an evolution of some of Escort's previous detectors. And let's actually take a look at that so we get a better idea as far as what's going on under the hood here with all this. So here's a look. We'll go back up at the detector itself. So first we'll take a look at the outside of the detector before we look at the inside. So plastic, no big deal. We've got our antenna right back there where all the signals are being received. Here's the top of the detector, pretty simple, basic design, nothing too flashy. We've got our power cable on one side, display right there. And then on the left side, you'll notice there's nothing on this side. There's no USB port, and there's no 1/8-inch headphone jack for headphones or speakers. So no ability to update this guy via USB, which makes sense. He doesn't have like a red light camera database or anything. If there's firmware updates that are going to be available, it'll have to be done through Escort Live, just like with the red line, which also doesn't have USB. So kind of interesting there. And then finally, another picture of the top of the detector. Cool. They've also posted some pictures of the inside of the unit. Very nice. So cracked it open and we can take a look at the guts, which actually will tell us quite a bit. So we open it up. We've got the horn right here, which is where the signals come in. If we take this metal plate off, we can actually see all the radar detector circuitry inside. They do have some other pictures published where they go a little bit closer, like this. So pretty cool. We're going to take a look at this in just a second. This is going to be a pretty relevant area. And then, just other stuff as far as the underside and some circuitry and boards, which for this video we don't really care about too much, but other chips. So, okay, cool. So let's go ahead and dive a little bit deeper into this detector specifically inside and see what information we can glean and how this product would compare to maybe some of the other products that are out there. So from those pictures, again, we could see, we've got the horn right there, which is the back side of the unit. We've got the display right here, which is this LED display. Cool. And then if we pop off this metal housing, you can see the ridge right there for the actual horn. And right here is all the circuitry for the radar detection part itself. Now, let's take a look at how all this circuitry compares to some other detectors. I've got two other detectors pulled up here, and I picked these two for a reason. We've got the Escort Passport X70, as well as the Escort Passport Max. This is an M4 based detector. This is an M5 based detector. M4 detectors are kind of Escort's bread and butter. They use this on tons and tons and tons of different detectors. The RX65, the 9500IX, a lot of Escorts, the Escort Passport, the X70, a lot of their main detectors, this is what they use. When they came out with the Max, they kind of evolved this M4 platform and they called it the M5 platform. So you'll see it looks pretty similar. It's not exactly the same. The layout is a little bit different. Some of the chip placement and everything is different. So it's an evolution of the M4 with a lot of the digital stuff to give you better performance. Cool. Now if we take a look at the S55, you'll see this is actually virtually identical to what we see here in the X70, right? Not here with the Max. So what this tells us is the radar detection platform is an M4, it's not an M5. So while this guy does have the digital scanning capabilities of the Max, he has the radar detector antenna of the M4 signal. So what that tells us is that while it's going to be fast, like the Max, it's not going to have the same performance as the evolved M5 horn. It's going to be more like a faster M4. So looking at this, this looks like what we can kind of expect from the hardware side. We've got an M4 horn and we've got digital for the DSP going on. So let's talk now a little bit more about the DSP and what that means, and specifically also what the benefits are and what we should expect over maybe an analog M4 and maybe a little bit different than, closer to the digital M5. So let's go ahead and talk about that next. Okay, so what we know from all the digital stuff, basically what's going on here is we've got an Escort page pulled up here for the Passport Max. Now if we scroll down here, our all-new receiver incorporates advanced military technology called DSP, digital signal processing. Unique method allows to scan faster, more accurately, you get quicker response times, and more advanced warning against instant-on threats. That sounds really cool. I want to show you guys something interesting because this is not actually that new. It's currently 2015, right, when I'm doing this video. Here is an episode, or not an episode, here is an issue of Popular Mechanics from June of 1991. See these old radar detectors? Back then they came out with a radar detector called the Escort DSP. Check this out. All new Escort DSP gets quantum leap. The secret is digital signal processing, the same advanced system used by the military. You can pick up radar signals, even distant instant-on radar, farther away than ever possible. Uses DSP to signal those times 50,000 times a second. So super fast scanning, you get longer range, and it's military technology. Does that sound familiar to what the Passport is saying here? All new advanced military technology. You can scan it, faster than ever before, more accurately. It means you get advanced warning against instant-on radar threats. Kind of interesting. This is 1991. This is 2015. This detector came out in 2013, I believe, 12, something like that. But still, the fact is, it's what, 24 years later, and Escort's still doing the same marketing stuff. So the marketing stuff, if they're still using it, must work really well. Like, I'm not a marketing guy, I'm more in kind of the engineering type stuff, but it sounds really cool, and if they've been using it for a quarter of a century, it's probably, to be honest, because it works and it sells products. But that doesn't mean that it's something revolutionary and new. Now, to be fair, the DSP that was used in a detector 24, 25 years ago is different than what's used now. The Max actually does, it has a lot more, it's faster, its technology has evolved since then, and a lot more of the detector now is actually scanning digitally than even the previous detectors that had some DSP but less of it and a less sophisticated implementation of DSP. If you want a more technical explanation, the ever fantastic 9C1 recently wrote an article about the differences between the older DSP, from the Escort DSP from like 25 years ago, and what's currently being used in some of the products like the Max and even the Stinger, which has an even better, more capable scanning ability. But briefly, I just kind of want to talk about kind of the main benefits that we're actually seeing with the current implementation of DSP. So now that more detectors are coming out with it, I'm probably going to wind up doing a separate video kind of getting into a little bit more technical detail and explanation, but for this one I'm just going to talk about the benefits. Basically what's going on is when you convert stuff into digital versus analog, you get a number of cool benefits. One of the benefits that the detector has is it takes time to scan across the entire range, right? All across X-band, K-band, and all of Ka-band. That scanning process takes time. With the digital detectors, it's able to scan a lot more all at once in huger chunks. Because of that, it's able to scan much more quickly, and it's far less likely to miss any really brief alerts, which is why if you see, quicker response time against, instant on, any sort of brief, perhaps even quick trigger shots, this detector will be faster than some of the analog detectors. Additionally, because it's so fast, in the time that most detectors scan the entire range once, this one can actually scan multiple times. I believe what they wound up doing is they scan 8 times in the time that it takes most detectors to scan once. Now what's cool about that is because if you scan it once, you're going to be getting a lot of noise, right? If you scan it a bunch of times, because the noise is kind of random, that noise will actually average out over time and lower. And if you do that, the real signal, which is always there, is going to pop out, versus all the noise, which is going to average out over multiple scans, will go down. And so you do wind up getting better sensitivity, which is a really nice benefit. There are, in practice, there are some quirks with that. It's not always as good as it sounds. Sometimes you get better sensitivity, sometimes you get a little bit worse sensitivity, which sounds a little weird. And there are some fluctuations, which I think is one of the reasons why the Max is a little bit less consistent in its testing results. It's not, there's some, fancier stuff going on and things vary more. So anyways, less consistent, but you do have the possibility of better sensitivity. Additionally, because you can scan the entire range so quickly, you don't have to worry about band segmentation. Some of the older analog detectors, the way they would be sped up is you would engage band segmentation, where basically you're turning off certain ranges of radar here where there's only going to be false alerts or perhaps no police radar. If you mess it up, you do run into the possibility of not being able to detect out-of-tune guns or off-frequency guns, whereas the Max will let you scan everything and get alerted to all signals, even perhaps out-of-tune guns that a segmented detector could miss. So a nice benefit there of the digital scanning. Also, because it's faster, you have time to implement additional filtering features, such as RDR. RDR is a feature designed to help you minimize false alerts on Ka-band. And other leaky radar detectors such as Cobras, if you detect a Ka-band signal, you got to stop and then go back and see, is that a leaky radar detector or is it a radar gun? That additional scanning takes time and it slows down the detector. Because this detector is so fast, it can handle doing the additional scans without a big performance hit. So being able to leave those additional filters on means you do actually get some fewer false alerts. And they probably mentioned that in one of these things. Sorts out real threats from false. So that is one area where it is the case. But this part right here is actually not accurate. It says it looks for the signature of the DNA of the signal and sorts out the real threats from a myriad of other signals. This was designed to help filter out false alerts. It's not the case. We haven't seen any actual benefit of this detector being better at filtering out blind spot monitoring systems than some other detectors. In fact, some of the other detectors, such as the red line and the V1, are actually better at filtering out blind spot false alerts with less of a performance penalty than what the Max does. It's really weird. So the other analog detectors can perform better and give you less of a performance hit. So this stuff is not actually true. We haven't seen any benefit as far as, seeing the DNA of the signal. I have seen some stuff like that from the Stinger, but as far as the Max, this is incorrect. The only thing that I've seen is the ability to leave RDR on and get rid of some of the KA falses. But on the note regarding KA falses, there is a long-standing issue with the Max where it, against Chevrolet vehicles, Chevys, those GM vehicles, the Chevy ones, have K-band blind spot monitoring systems, which the Max will very often incorrectly misrepresent as KA band. And it'll be around 33.6 something, 33.673, 33.675, 677, 676, kind of that range, 33.67 something, typically is what we've seen. And this is a long-standing, huge issue that, I mean, tons of, 17 pages so far. Just got another 33.6 false today from a Chevy SUV. So it is a long-standing issue. This was a problem with the Max. The problem carried over into the Max 2 and has not yet been fixed. Escort knows about it, but it hasn't been fixed. I don't know why. So it's a long-standing issue. They haven't fixed it, and it only affects their digital detectors. And so while there's a lot of cool stuff that the digital platform brings, there also are some little quirks and weirdness that the DSP brings. Again, I'll probably wind up doing a separate video on just DSP, digital stuff, and get into this in a little bit more detail. But you do wind up getting, additional KA band falses that you wouldn't with another analog detector, which, if you're running Escort Live, is going to wind up you creating a whole bunch of false alerts down the road that you can't get rid of and that automatically get reported to the cloud if you have the detector paired with your phone. So you wind up creating a lot of junk like this. So the whole idea with it being quieter and getting, fewer false alerts, well, you're actually getting, in some cases, more false alerts than you get with another detector, and you're going to start creating a lot of junk for other people in the area too if you have it paired with your phone. So it's not all good. There are some weirdnesses, but basically what you're looking at is going to be a faster scanning detector and possibly longer sensitivity and range. That's the main things that we're looking at. So that's why, if we take back a look at the manual, you'll see there is no RDR feature. It doesn't need that for speed. There's no ability to turn on, or not RDR, band segmentation. There's no band segmentation, and there's no RDR option because it's a digital detector. It doesn't necessarily need the ability to turn it off to get the performance benefit. You can leave it on, get better filtering. Awesome. So that's a look here at the S55. It's an M4, not an M5. It's an M4 detector, so it's not going to have the range of the M5, but it is going to be a faster M4. So kind of interesting to see this coming out here. So there you go. As far as the price point of the detector or when it's going to be announced, I have no idea. This, again, is just kind of information we're able to glean from the FCC now that it has passed all these certifications. So, it's going to be up to Escort as far as what they're going to price it at. $150, $200, $250, whatever. I'm guessing it's going to wind up being just one of the more entry-level affordable detectors that they put out next to the Cobras. And you go to Best Buy or Walmart or something. It looks like it's probably just going to be one of those basic, inexpensive detectors that you can just go to the store and buy. So that's probably my guess as far as what this detector is going to be. We'll have to wait and see as far as the final price point. If it's sold online, if it's when it comes out, all that good stuff. But there you go. There's a look at this new detector that's coming out from Escort, and pretty much everything that I've been able to glean online from this detector, and pretty much what we know so far. So, big thank you, of course, to everybody at RDF, sharing all the information, all the cool discussions and stuff. And I'll post a link to the S55 thread and also 9C1's discussion on the DSP stuff for those of you guys who want to dive a little bit more deeply into all this kind of stuff. And once I get the DSP video up, I'll also post that in the video description so you guys can get a little bit more information as far as some of the technical stuff if you're curious about that. So cool. Thank you for watching. If you guys have any questions, as always, please feel free to ask, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.